Horror Lies.
Guys, Robin George here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe. I'm your regular Wednesday evening host here at Body Bags, and we open up July random week, the second week in Scream Factory volume. Geez, by now it's probably 5 or 6. Taking a look at Wreck for Apocalypse. Very, very much looking forward to revisiting that one. This will drop just one day shy of July 4th, so happy July 4th. And end of the month, something different, I think. I don't know if we've ever covered this. Fairy tale horror for theme week here at Body Bags. And don't forget, we have this new thing, this collaborative effort. We don't really have a name per se for it, I don't think, yet. Although we are getting together this weekend for our every other week chat. Maybe that's something we need to talk about, among some other things. But 4, I think, have already dropped since we've started it. And so definitely check that out if that's something you're interested in. It's a top 5 based discussion roundtable thing. And so that's there too. Prison, a Renny Harlin film. I remember this is one of those, and that is not it in terms of the theatrical poster. But when I was a kid, I remember my room was just like, if you ever seen Summer School, right? And the one kid's bedroom, just how it's like horror decked out. I mean, that was my bedroom for the most part. But I had Prison. I had this poster, theatrical poster, up on my wall. And so I remember heavy hitter as far as a VHS rental back in the day. And I do remember really digging this film. And I'm sure it got treated pretty well in Fangoria, I would imagine. And so, but it's been a long time. And the couple times that I have, I missed out on the Scream Factory release, which I really do regret now more than ever. But I am riding with the old 88 DVD. This is pretty much bare bones, except for some trailer reel, some Grindhouse-like films, and this trailer. Other than that, it's pretty bare bones. But let me just go ahead and let me just go ahead and read this real quick here. 30 years after frying its last prisoner, Charlie Forsythe, 30 years after frying its last prisoner, Charlie Forsythe, Creedmoor Prison is open for business once more. Problem is, Charlie still haunts the joint and is looking for vengeance on its warden, Eaton Sharp, played by Elaine Smith, who framed Charlie and watched as he was juiced, for a crime he did not commit. Amongst the new inmates is Viggo Mortensen. It's freaking awesome, man. He is awesome in this. Who soon realizes that if the prisoners don't help exact revenge, they too will face the wrath of Charlie Forsythe. From acclaimed action director Renny Harlin, of course, Die Hard 2 they have here listed, comes this very underappreciated, underrated gem of the 80s, featuring bravado FX work from John Carl Buechler. I know him more near and dear to Friday the 13th Part 7, which he helmed, and worked with Kane Hodder, who played Jason, who is in this film as well. And stunt work, I just said it, Jason Voorhees himself, Kane Hodder. Prison finally returns to the UK screens in glorious HD thanks to the Gorehounds at 88 Films. But I have to mention, Scream Factory did put out an incredible release. Unfortunately, I missed out on it, and I just checked the other day, and it's out of print. So go figure. I was sort of turned on to revisiting this. I didn't realize I was gonna review it. It's never been reviewed before in Body Bags, but as most of you would know, I'm running 3 seasons deep in X-Files, a closer look series on my channel. And the one I'm about to review, in fact, after this, is an episode called The List, which is another prison-styled episode. Maybe it might be one of, if not one of the best episode in the first 3 seasons in terms of its monster of the week approach, outside of the mythology. So that'll be dropping. It would have already had dropped since you see this drop, because I'm way ahead on Body Bags for the moment, and right on time with my channel as far as the X-Files. So that episode's phenomenal, The List. You could see my review of it deep in the archive. I'm sure it'll be sitting there. But Prison, man, let me just give you, man, the back of the DVD box doesn't do justice at all, man. Let's just start with Renny Harlin as a director. Remember, this is the film that gives him the job for Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, which is pretty interesting. I mentioned Die Hard 2, Cliffhanger, The Long Kiss Goodnight, Deep Blue Sea, just a few movies of his. Also, too, I did not realize that he is the one helming The Strangers, chapters 1, 2, and 3. I had no interest in that, really. I do now. I didn't realize this was a Renny Harlin production. And so that is first 2 chapters, I think, are in 24 this year, and then chapter 3 in 25. And then he's some other project, the Deepwater, that's coming down the pike. Airliner crashes in deep water, shark infested kind of thing. So he's kind of returning to his Deep Blue Sea roots a little bit. Just some other names. We mentioned Buechler. He's got a rich history of special effects, including Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Makes sense, right? He'll work with Renny Harlin. Again, Halloween 4, Bride of the Reanimator. Freaking awesome special effects feast. Of course, Friday 7. He'll direct. The cinematographer on here, Mac Alberg, known for a lot of horror films in the 80s, man. Hell Night, Reanimator, House, From Beyond, Ghost Town, Deep Blue Sea, The Horror Show. He died, unfortunately, in 2012, so rip on him. Charles Band and Irwin Yablans on the production. Of course, Irwin Yablans also writing the story here. Of course, you know, those of us who love Halloween know he is sort of the godfather in terms of producing of the Halloween franchise. One of them, right? Richard Band, composer. Didn't realize he composed House on Sorority Row back in '82. That's pretty cool, as well as Bride Reanimator, which I absolutely love that score. And I think that's it on the mentions. And Kane Hodder, not only does he play Charles Forsythe, the guy who is wrongfully executed, he doesn't really play him a lot in here. That goes mostly to Viggo Mortensen, who is sort of Burke, and he also plays Forsythe in The Chair, which is a phenomenal, it is an unrelenting moment where apparently his convulsions were so incredible that he actually broke the arms off the chair. But in the end, in the finale, when Charles Forsythe rises up out of the earth to confront the warden one last time, the final time, that special effects sequence is amazing, and that is Kane Hodder is Charles Forsythe and all the makeup there in the chair as it comes up out of the earth, which is freaking cool, man. Viggo, man, surrounded by a pretty strong supporting cast in this. This is one of the reasons this movie actually got delayed. It's an 87 film. I don't think it actually comes out to like 88 or something, though, and that was because Empire was in the midst of a bankruptcy deal, unfortunately. Hale Landon Jr., Officer Wallace is freaking awesome. Tom Lister, of course, Dark Knight, right? Gotta remember him towards the end of that. Tom Everett's really good in this, man. Lincoln Kilpatrick, man, as Burton, he's awesome in this, man. And of course, Lane Smith as the warden is freaking awesome too, man. So, you know, basically real quick, man, what you have here is, and they used a real prison that was vacated in Wyoming, which lends itself some pretty awesome set pieces, man, that they didn't have to build. They did have to reconstruct. If I'm remembering right, I hope this and X-Files doesn't cross over one another. I do believe they had to reconstruct the execution room because in Wyoming State Penitentiary, it was a gas chamber, not an electric chair. So they did have to build that. And they were allowed to do some additional construction in terms of set building since it was shut down. And apparently they used a lot of the inmates were real inmates. So they had real troopers on duty, armed to the teeth, guarding the prisoners during the shoot. So a lot of, I guess the bottom line is here, a lot of moving pieces, interesting elements working together to produce, I think, one of the more underrated, underappreciated gems of the 80s. And as I said, I remember having the poster on my wall. This was a fun revisit. It's one I will go back to again sooner than later. And so really what you have here is this condemned prisoner who the opening scene is quite, now, a bit of a subgenre itself. The antagonist or anti-hero, sort of, whatever you want to call him, gets into the electric chair wrongfully, promises they'll return one day. Sort of subgenre movies. We think of Shocker, we think of Nightmare Beach, the Italian film, horror show, right? And The List from the X-Files. So an interesting subgenre, but I have to say, man, I am having an increasingly harder time watching, and I know it's just film, I get it, it's a set piece, it's acting and everything, but I am having a harder time. Certain aspects of film I'm having a hard time watching, man. It just, I don't know, gets under my skin, man. I don't know, just the thought of someone walking to their execution, man. I don't know, there's something about that, man, that's just gnaws at your soul, man. Creeps you out big time. And so the I was gonna say university. I saw a trailer for Splatter University earlier. The prison shut down, but because they can't finish building a new reformed special prison, they're pushed, because of, I think, the numbers, they're pushed to reopen this old condemned prison. Just bring it up to shape real quick. The main girl, the protagonist here, Chelsea Field plays her, Catherine. She's there working with the warden. She's a reformer, and she just wants to do better for the inmates. She has a real hard time with this warden, man, because he is prehistoric, and I have nothing against prehistoric people at all, but I don't know, man. It's an interesting, this comes right before prison reform really starts to set in big time. And so that's interesting that it found its way this. So anyways, so Viggo heads a whole cast of inmates who come in to occupy this reopening prison. As Providence would have it, the old warden is back. Well, he's warden now. He's back to, I don't think he was warden when he oversaw, maybe he was, when he oversaw Charles Forsythe's trip to the chair. But he is warden here, and there's some, man, I'll just kind of close out on this. Some of the murder pieces, man, are phenomenal. You got the Kane Hodder piece at the end, which is phenomenal. You got Rabbit, one of the inmates, who is trying to escape the prison, man, and the prison itself just sort of closes in on him, man, and just mutilates his body. The inmates are in the cafeteria eating, and I think it was Viggo notices some of the blood dripping down, looks up, they all start to move back, man. The whole body, man, of Rabbit just falls through the ceiling, man, all contorted and just broken up. That is one of the better, man. There's another where one of the Wallace, I think, his death scene, which is phenomenal, barbed wire sequence, just insane. He gets pulled right up through the floor of the warden's office, which is pretty freaking cool. Got some great sequences, man, some great gore sequences. Trying to think of one more. Just the boiler rooms, man. You got two that are, because of what they do at the beginning, they're thrown into solitary confinement. One over there, one over here, and both rooms start to heat up to a point where the one effect, man, shows a guy, one of the inmates in there, he just melts down, man. It is a phenomenal effect. Of course, pre-CGI, right? Practical effects. Some of the visual effects and practicals in this movie, man, are ingenious. I'm just gonna say it, it's ingenious. Viggo kind of plays a role where, you sort of wonder if he's not a reincarnated, he reminds me of a little bit of the character Black Sunday, how there was two Barbara, can't think of her stupid name now. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It sort of reminds me of that a little bit. He's sort of there, but he doesn't play like a reincarnate. It's almost kind of like his presence, because his likeness to the killer is so uncanny. I wonder if his presence there is what sort of trips this, or there may be multiple trips that sort of livens everything up. So races to a pretty satisfying conclusion. And dude, I'm telling you, if you've never seen this one, man, you really need to check it out for all the reasons I stated. Hopefully you can get your hands on a better release than I do, but this ain't bad, man. This ain't bad. If this is all you can grab, and I would imagine, I didn't check to see what it was streaming on. I'm sure you might be able to find it that way, but if you love all the moving pieces, the people involved in the writing, the effects and stunts and everything like that, definitely worth going out of your way to check out and do so. Definitely worth it. Again, happy 4th of July. That is, if this video drops where it's supposed to, 4th of July is tomorrow. So happy 4th. And we continue to roll right on through July. And as always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.
We might be useful to you.